thousands of years, man observed the rising and setting sun, the cycle of seasons, the fixed stars, and those he called wanderers or planets. And from these observations evolved his notions of the universe. The naked eye extended its vision through instruments that saw the craters on the moon, the changing colors of Mars, and the rings of Saturn. The fantasies, dreams, and visions of space travel became the reality of Apollo. Early in 1970, President Nixon announced the objectives of a balanced space program for the United States that would include the scientific investigation of all the planets in the solar system. Of the 9 planets circling the sun, only the Earth is known to us at first hand. But observational techniques on Earth and in space have given us some idea of the appearance and movement of the planets and enable us to depict their physical characteristics in some detail. Mercury, only slightly larger than the moon, is so close to the sun that it is difficult to observe by telescope. It is believed to be one large cinder with no atmosphere and a day-night temperature range of nearly 1,000 degrees. Venus is perpetually cloud-covered. Spacecraft report a surface temperature of 900 degrees Fahrenheit and an atmospheric pressure 100 times greater than Earth's. We can only guess what the surface is like. Possibly a seething netherworld beneath a crushing, poisonous carbon dioxide atmosphere. Of Mars, the red planet, we have evidence of its cratered surface photographed by the Mariner spacecraft. In this painting of the planet, seen from its inner moon, dust storms sweep the rust-colored surface. Jupiter, nearly 500 million miles from the sun, is the largest of the planets, larger than 1,300 Earths. It outweighs all the other planets, moons, and debris in the solar system combined. Saturn, encircled by a halo of brilliant white rings, is the second largest planet and is twice as far away as Jupiter. In this rendering, Saturn is seen from its moon, Titan. Uranus is a pale blue-green ball 2 billion miles from Earth, traveling a great orbital arc in the intense cold and darkness of the outer solar system. Neptune is the farthest of the giant planets, so far from Earth that no features have ever been seen or photographed. Here, Neptune floats above Triton, one of its 2 moons. Pluto, nearly 4 billion miles away, is probably a snow-covered rock in the dim light of a remote sun. Only once every 175 years are the major planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, so aligned that a spacecraft can visit all 4 on a single flight. The last such planetary arrangement occurred in 1800, when Thomas Jefferson was elected president, and the development of the cotton gin stood at the forefront of American technology. The rare opportunity to probe these planets occurs in this decade, the 1970s, and will not recur until the middle of the 22nd century. Until the flyby of Mariner 4 in 1965, it was thought that Mars was much like the Earth. But the photographs of the Martian surface revealed that the planet was more like the Moon. Later missions photographed more than 2,000 miles of craters. In fact, the famed canals, once believed by some to be the work of intelligent creatures, proved to be chains of craters. This bright Martian desert either escaped the devastation of meteorite bombardment or was smoothed by some powerful eroding process. Yet Mars apparently has no running water that cuts and fills, so the scouring agent was more likely a wind-borne material. Another Marsscape called chaotic terrain brought more surprises to scientists and more questions to be answered. It appears as a maze-like region of jumbled ridges and steep ravines. That Mars is a world of contrasts we now know. The newly acquired knowledge has only whetted man's appetite for continued and more thorough investigations of Mars. The early mariners flew within several thousand miles of the Martian surface, gathering and sending to Earth TV pictures and measurements of temperatures, pressures, and atmospheric and surface chemical composition. The exploration of Mars takes on a major new aspect in the present decade with the intensive investigations by the Mariner 9 orbiter and the Viking landing missions. Mariner 9 is designed to operate in Mars orbit for a minimum of 3 months. Its science experiments are similar to those made 2 years earlier, but data will be gathered over a much longer period. The single 2,200-pound spacecraft is capable of performing much of the mission originally planned for 2 orbiting mariners. It arrives at Mars after a 5.5-month flight from Cape Kennedy and powers its way into an orbit that takes it around Mars once every 12 hours. Primarily a mapping mission, the Mariner television cameras photograph about 80% of the planet. Thermal and chemical maps of the same areas are made with data from other instruments. The overlapping wide-angle and spot coverage narrow-angle picture